Slept on Cinema is sponsored by Training Ties, the ultimate shoe tying tool. If you know someone who's struggling with shoe tying for any reason, Training Ties is the perfect solution. Flies completely off the rails, morphing from tantalizing trash to nowhere nonsense.
It should be called Femme Fatale, since the movie nearly bored me to death.
De Palma fools around with split screens and slow-mo, but no amount of cinematic artifice can vanish over the fact that this is trash.
De Palma pulls his own switcheroo on the real story as it's about to reach its climax and replaces it with a fake one.
Brian De Palma's latest looks like art, but as the film reminds, appearances can be deceiving.
Sexy and passively entertaining with a plot that's too clever by half.
An erotic thriller that's neither too erotic nor very thrilling.
Femme Fatale has an apt title. Femme because it's about a woman, and Fatale because it makes you want to jump out a window.
A 0 out of 100.
There's no humor, no suspense, little drama, not much sex appeal, and hardly any intrigue.
Stylized synthetic junk.
May not always make sense, but is crammed with flamboyant images and frisky cinematic pranks.
The film opens with a clip from Double Indemnity. Clearly, De Palma is positioning Rebecca Romijn as a modern-day Barbara Stanwyck. Perhaps in his next movie, he'll try to sell us Christina Aguilera as the new Doris Day.
Welcome to this week's episode of Slept on Cinema. I'm your host, Stan Steamer.
I'm Grove Street.
And for those unfamiliar with the podcast, we look for slept-on movies that have been disregarded by critics and audiences. Our criteria is that it has to be below 50% on Rotten Tomatoes for critics and audience score. And we set up the podcast so that the first half is spoiler-free. You can listen to the podcast and go watch the movie, then come back in the second half and learn a little bit more about the film. This week, we're getting into a great film. I'm really excited. We're getting into Femme Fatale. On top of that, we have a guest host. We have Cam Sully joining us from Jacked Up Review Show podcast.
First guest, welcome.
Good to be a first timer. What have we got here? Do we have a movie that's just too clever for today's audience? Or is it cinematic trash that we're going to partially defend?
I loved it. Cam is the one that suggested this movie to us, and I thought I had seen it, and I was 10 minutes in. I was like, I've never seen this, and I am so hooked. This movie was so fun to watch. Can't wait to talk about it.
Well, when you suggested it, like I was saying before, I even put it off. I thought it was going to be like a slow slog of a movie, like sort of trying to be too clever, French foreign movie, and I just kind of like put it off. I watched it once, and then I immediately watched it like 2 more times in the next couple of days because I just was really I really enjoyed this movie. One of the best movies we've done so far.
Completely agree.
Absolutely.
All right, I'll get to the rotten premise. Laure, a member of a crime ring, lifts an extravagant set of jewels from a model at a red carpet event. But instead of splitting the loot with her partners, Laure flees. While running from the crooks she betrayed, she comes across Lily, a woman nearly identical to herself. When Lily kills herself, Laure assumes her identity and starts life anew. But paparazzo Nicolas has been tracking her and may reveal all of her dark secrets. Critics, 49%. Audience, 49%. I think this is the highest cumulatively rated movie we've done so far.
Right?
Yeah,
just
definitely
barely squeaks under the limits.
Great. Should we get into some background?
Let's do it.
1,000%.
So this movie came out November 6th, 2002, and it opened 9th in its opening weekend, which is shocking to me. It only made $2.75 million its opening weekend, but 9th, that's unbelievable. 8 Mile was also released that same weekend. It even ended up behind the third week of Ghost Ship, which maybe they mismarketed this or what, because I have no idea how a movie
same
of
studio,
this
and it's like they're trying to make money off of both Joel Silver's Dark Castle production company, and then like you say, just all these other just under budgeted movies that were made overseas, and yet they would always make the money back on HBO.
Yeah, it's crazy. Apparently the worldwide gross, at least in its first trip around the world, only made about $17 million, which again is just mind-boggling when you look at the quality of this movie. But yeah, I think it's gotten a little bit of a resurgence lately as people have given it a second chance on streaming services and whatnot. a bit on De Palma too, since this is our second De Palma movie. We'd previously done Snake Eyes, but since that was also our first Nicolas Cage movie, I think we spent most of the discussion on Cage and just kind of forgot De Palma, which is, understandable, obviously, but glad to be able to get back into some De Palma stuff.
Yeah, and then we thought that movie was very De Palma-esque, and then we watched this, and this makes Snake Eyes look like De Palma light, because he is just completely in his bag in this movie.
This has his fingerprints all over it. And he's one of these guys. He started in New York and sort of came up with a bunch of these like classic film directors: Martin Scorsese, George Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola, Steven Spielberg. They were all part of this sort of crew of guys that were just making.
They'd help each other out. Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it seems like De Palma just doesn't totally get his due. I feel like everyone else in that group, everyone talks about how great their films are and they're the greatest directors of all time. And I feel like De Palma is kind of an afterthought, which is insane to me, because I feel like any movie he makes, you're going to be entertained. It's without a doubt.
Razzies hates him and Stallone like with a passion. And he like quotes saying, "Oh, I saw that guy on a set one time. He doesn't know how to make a movie." And I'm just like, well, it depends on which movie. I mean, I think that's just it. He never left the 70s, but the 70s kind of left him.
Yeah.
But like you say, just like with any filmmaker, it depends on where do you know him from. And all the time I'd even get in arguments when defending people like, of all people, like Schumacher or even Michael Bay, just with friends. And they're like, you're only as good as how many good movies you make. And I was like, that's so not true. And De Palma's had a bunch of turns, but when he's good, he's really good. And
yeah, I was looking through his list, and I was like, well, I'll just like find a couple movies that I know that I really liked. The list goes on and on. He did Sisters in 72, which is a great sort of low budget film if you haven't seen that. Sisters, Carrie in 76, Dress to Kill in 80, Blowout in 81, Scarface in 83, Body Double in 84, The Untouchables in 87, Carlito's Way in 93, Mission Impossible, which started a whole franchise in 96, Snake Eyes 98, and then Femme Fatale in 02.
Yeah,
that's some of the greatest movies of all time right there.
And some of the greatest like cinematography and directing too. Like that scene of going down the stairs in Untouchables was parodied so many times because it was such an iconic scene of, what was it, the stroller going down the stairs.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And that's fun fact, in a stunt book I read years ago, apparently that guy did second unit directing on movies like Broken Arrow. He had the bus jump sequence for Speed. So yeah, it's like there's a reason it's parodied. It's like by the best of the best.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like he also just does like we talk about this before, where almost all his movies you could say is a thriller. It's like that's my favorite type of movie. Like, why would I want to see anything that's not thrilling? And I feel like all his movies that thriller.
That's the reason everyone seems to not know the difference between action or even horror. It's just like, yeah, but the reason it's a thriller is it thrilled. There was one sequence where there was a shootout or someone, like you say, is like we're talking about falling to their death,
Yeah, calling back to my movie store employee days, like the most questions on where to find a movie that just came out was I always had to tell them to go to the thriller section because they would go to the action and, they'd go to the comedy. They knew what those were, but thriller, they had no idea what movie would be placed in that section.
1,000%. You don't know if it's a mystery or if it's a crime drama or, like you say, it's a movie with some horror and action undertones. And I definitely feel like this is De Palma's last great movie because anything after, is a like it or hate it. Like Redacted is just god awful.
Yeah, you gave us a challenge. You gave me a challenge, Redacted. I haven't seen that yet, but you said we wouldn't enjoy it, so now I have to watch it and make.
You will have to see it and suffer through it. And then that final spy movie, Domino, which he disowned before it even came out. And this is one of those. I didn't have a problem with what critics had a problem with, that it was predictable and such, or that there looked like there was a lack of Netflix style color grading. I was more like, this is just so uninvolving of a Taken type movie. But yeah, like you say, this one was one of those, my folks had bootleg cable, so I saw parts of this all the time. And it was one of those, even I at the time is like, I'm already trying to figure out what is a quality movie. I'm like, I'm not sure if this is a good movie or just anything like their lowbrow Skinemax thrillers, because it would be on those channels all the time. You're like, I'm not sure if this is good or bad. And
it's definitely like it definitely, I'm sure, had its run on that nighttime Cinemax.
It did.
Time plot.
I even saw it again years later when I was house sitting of someone's dogs. I saw it again and was like, I love this movie. But yeah, it was coming on. It was coming on.
It was also kind of a controversial choice at the time to cast Rebecca Romijn-Stamos, but I think we decided we're just going to call her Rebecca Romaine because that is now her name.
Not Rebecca Romaine.
Controversial choice. Right.
This might have caused her divorce. I don't know.
I mean, this is her first leading role, and I saw some that she caught some flack for, but I thought she was great. I looking this up, I hadn't realized this. Her first actual role was in Dirty Work, which is an all-time.
Oh,
classic.
the bearded lady, right?
It was the bearded lady. Yeah.
I always forget that, even though it's a hysterical movie. But what's funny is I actually saw that back to back with that. No joke.
What a double feature!
But I didn't realize that was her. So yeah.
And not only that, she is already a recipient of our favorite award here on the pod. She won her first Blockbuster Entertainment Award in 2000 for her role in X-Men. favorite actress or favorite supporting actress.
Mystique?
Yeah, Mystique.
Now she's on the Star Trek franchise. So,
all right, let's move on to Be on the Lookout, Bolos. So I'll go first here. First bolo is throwing someone from an elevated place.
A surprising number of times here. Very abruptly, too. I'll go with an Orangina. Can't have a French film without someone drinking an Orangina.
There you go. Antonio Banderas' eyes.
Ooh, that's very good.
Not him, but his eyes. He is very meticulous with how it's just literally the cameras love him too. It just he does a stare down literally in every scene.
Be on the lookout for John Stamos' voice.
Oh yeah, on the listen out. I will say be on the lookout for a lamp wearing a wig.
Be on the lookout for lap dance.
Be on the lookout for deja vu.
I will say be on the lookout for matching watches.
Be on the lookout for rain. Tons of rain.
Yep. Be on the lookout for a bloody tux.
That's not going to be up at all.
I will say, and this is something I love in movies that I don't even know if this ever comes up in real life, but be on the lookout for bearer bonds.
A lookout for crazy hair.
Be on the lookout for French techno music.
Love it. I will say, be on the lookout for Rebecca Romaine's face on other faces.
Ooh.
Be on the lookout for sleight of hand.
And maybe this sort of fits in the same category. Be on the lookout for a shadow fight.
Be on the lookout for Peter Coyote.
Great name. Unbelievable name.
Great name.
Be on the lookout for bad fake driving.
I'll go with be on the lookout, Bolo, a really great paper cutter.
Be on the lookout for gunplay.
It's my last one. Be on the lookout for an eye dart.
That's my last one too, but be on the lookout for a mini disc.
Be on the lookout for camera flashes, if not cameras.
Yeah, all over the place.
It's on the cover, for God's sakes.
All right, let's get to our last segment before you get to watch the movie. What drink to pair best with this movie? I'll go first here. I'm going to go with a chilled Côte de Rhône. So a nice French wine to enjoy this too, but with a little chill to it, just like the main character.
Ooh, that is an amazing pick. That is absolutely fantastic. I'm also drinking a Côte de Rhône right now.
Oh, so perfect. So am I.
I'm going to go with, and this is maybe our first, but just a tall glass of water. Perfectly spelled.
You're in good hands. I'm pretty much a water drinker, but get a White Russian and while getting hammered with just your choice of vodka.
That would be perfect. All right, so this is your chance to go rewatch the movie, or if you haven't seen it, watch the movie, and we'll see you on the other side.
I got through to the other side.
From director Brian De Palma, master of the erotic thriller, comes a new suspense sensation.
This top supermodel's wearing more than you'd think. 10 million in diamonds.
This isn't a game tonight. People can die.
She ran away with the diamonds.
A little under 4 million. Not bad for a night's work, huh?
Where are the diamonds?
Are you flirting with me?
Baby, there's one more thing we gotta do.
She set me up for you guys to get me out of the way.
That's what it's all about. Me disappearing.
2 lives.
The only thing missing is the ambassador's wife.
2 worlds.
Did I make you jealous?
Yes.
1 woman.
I'm a bad girl. Real bad.
Femme Fatale.
Yeah, I got to say once again, Cam, thanks again for bringing this movie to our attention. That was a ton of fun. It was so hard taking notes during this movie because I kept getting wrapped up in the plot and in the movie, and I would forget to write stuff down and have to go back and rewatch it, and then I would get caught up in the movie again.
Yeah. I probably rewound and rewatched scenes more in this movie than any other movie I've ever watched in my entire life. And
Absolutely.
It was just so fun I'd be like, I got to see this scene again. It was amazing.
Right.
It was like this and Memento, I think, are 2 that I rewound the most.
I'm sure anyone even going to the video store didn't know what they were in for. And just thought, hey, I'm seeing a naughty movie. And then it's like, no, you're watching a movie where you're going to have your mind blown.
Yeah, it seems like it's even, we talked about beforehand, being on the time slot for like Skinamax or whatever, but this is not a Skinamax movie by any means. This is like a film in the wrong time slot on Cinemax.
Or maybe that's why they had trouble advertising it, I guess, because they're just like, yeah, it just looks like a naughty taboo movie. You know?
I think that's probably some of the issues, that it maybe was how they marketed it. And then you get into it and you're like, wow, this movie there's a lot going on here. There's so many film style. There's so much crazy techniques and little things woven throughout the entire film that I'm sure we'll get into, but it's like that's one of the reasons why I thought it was so great to watch over and over again. Was every time I watched it, I picked up on so many more things that I'd missed that first time. Yeah,
it's definitely more basic instinct than it is like Emmanuel in space.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I mean, like you say, I mean, it does have those like exotic moments, but at the same time, like they're so over advertised, where it's like that's not even remotely, like you say, a big chunk of the movie. Like you're using a deceptive thief who's realizing the odds are against her.
Right. And all the scenes where it is sort of the erotic elements of the film, they're not just thrown in there for the sake of having some skin on screen. Like they're always there as either it's a diversion or it's to prove some sort of point. They're there with a purpose.
1,000%.
All right, let's get to our draft. And I think we have to give our first pick in the draft to our guest, Cam. You get the first pick in our draft.
It's got to be definitely how there's like not just one, but 3 different plot twists all in the last hour.
Oh, that's so good. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Great pick.
Yeah.
Maybe that's cheating, I guess.
No, that's great. It's multiple different movies for sure. And that's part of the fun is you move on from one act and you get to the next one.
Yeah. And they are, I felt like it was a bit jarring at first when I watched it the first time, but then once you realize that this is a dream, it makes so much sense because that's how dreams work. You know, things flip on their head all the time and it seems totally normal. There's no need for an explanation because that's just how it works in a dream. I thought that was great. I thought those plot twists were a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a great choice. I'm going to give you this pick and hope that I get my 2 top picks on the bookend here.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with my first pick. And this is sort of similar to what we were just talking about, but just the overall dream concept. And I know we'll get into the sort of elements that sort of clue you into the fact that it's a dream later in our superlative section. But I just thought that concept of it was all a dream can be done so poorly in the wrong hands where it's just kind of throw away the whole movie. And you're like, what did I just spend my last hour and a half, 2 hours doing? That was a waste. But here it's done so expertly and so carefully that there are these clues woven throughout the entire film. There are these elements that make you really feel like it's a dream. And it's not a gimmick. It's like I didn't feel toyed with.
There's different aspects to it. Sometimes it's cool that it's in a dream because there's different aspects to said dream, while versus it's just an easy way out just because everyone was doing that kind of Sixth Sense kind of plot twist, you know?
Yeah, I was a little apprehensive about it Like typically like a dream twist in a movie makes me think of like that bad Sopranos season where it's like, all right, what did we just waste our time with? But when it happened, I was like relieved. I'm like, yes, they have to go back and like correct these mistakes, because I definitely did not realize the first viewing that it was a dream. Even though he tries to make it so obvious, in rewatching it, I'm like, I'm such an idiot that I didn't realize.
Same. I was like, how did I not see these 10,000 very obvious clues? But probably smarter people than us watch this. It was immediately obvious to them.
And that's just it. The right people, it's just like with comedy. The right people get it. The right people get the joke. Or like you say, everyone's paying attention to different elements. I mean, he had plenty of ways to get people who were familiar with his more recent movies, especially like Untouchables and even Mission Impossible, where he has everyone meet at the start, briefing everyone on their so-called mission.
Yeah, well, that's a great pick. All right. I have my two choices here, which I feel lucky to have, but I'm going to give first round billing to just De Palma. This is just an ode to De Palma himself. This is a De Palma film with like no chains on him. He wrote the movie. It's his idea. He directed it the way he saw it. He did all the camera shots, the POV stuff, all the different perspectives. It's just, and it starts off right away with like the move, like you're watching another movie when it starts. Goes from that like curtain swing in the hotel to right at the Cannes Movie Festival. It's just like he's showing off. It's like a heat check for him. He's just doing such a great job being De Palma in this movie.
Yeah, I think this played there, so I think that's also kind of a double joke.
Yes, it is. I think so. In my second pick, I know there was some pushback on her casting, but Rebecca Romijn, I thought she was absolutely incredible. And she had to play so many different roles, including a completely different character who was so upset and torn apart from her loss that she had to commit suicide. And she pulled that off, or decided to commit suicide and pulled that off. She had to be seductive, smart. She had to be, feign being like the abused woman. She did so many different roles in this movie, and I thought she just nailed it all. It was really like, I didn't know she could act like that.
Shocked that she could make it all the way to the second round. Amazing. I'm going to go for my second pick here. Just the whole sort of opening scene. And I know De Palma's opening scenes are always just like the best, and this one is no exception. But I loved not only just the feeling and the ambiance, the opening scene, but the fact that you're at Cannes, and I feel like there's a little bit of the De Palma sort of like sticking his finger in someone's eye a little bit, where there's this movie playing at the premiere called East West, which I've never seen. It's a real movie. It looks like maybe the most boring movie of all time. Like, it just looks so horribly boring. It's playing in there. You got all these people in their fancy suits or whatever just sitting there. And then all this really exciting action is happening literally in the bathroom at the same time. And it's like, that's where we want to be.
Which part of the action are you talking?
Right. So it's like, that's where we want to be. That's the De Palma. You know what I mean? Like, that's the De Palma movie. It's taking place in the bathroom. It's the exciting part. It's not this like stuffy East-West shots of the ocean, boring movie. And I loved that sort of just the whole scene. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I never even looked at it like that. And that's such a great take. Great pick.
Well said.
That opening scene, if you count the hotel part, it's 20 minutes. It's an opening act for sure.
And it's also silent for most of it. Like, you don't hear.
Yep.
I mean, there's talking, but there's a lot more of what you see than what you hear.
Very good point.
Do you have another pick, Cam?
I'm kind of the same way with Banderas, because I mean, like, even though he's the first credited person, he's the secondary character in this, and he had so many movies which were like it or hate it, and they often get overshadowed because critics weren't crazy about him. But it's like you still see a different persona from him, and here, he's kind of a sleazebag, and then halfway through, he kind of wants to be a hero and save this mysterious gal.
Yeah, that's a great pick. It was such seemed like an odd role because he's kind of a schmuck, kind of a loser. Like he's got a criminal record and he's in debt, and he never knows exactly what's going on in the movie. Someone always has a leg up on him. He never quite has a firm grasp of the situation, and it was just a funny That's rarely the case with Antonio Banderas. He usually has so much like charisma and control of the situation, and it was great to sort of see him in this sort of role.
Yeah, I thought he was a great casting. He was
the
he
voyeur
played that part really well.
Yeah.
All right, I'm torn between what I'm going to go with my last pick here. I got a couple things I want, but I feel like I can't risk this not getting picked up, and there's a chance you might have my next pick anyway. But I'm going to go with that piece of snake jewelry at the beginning. That thing, there's no way we can get through a draft.
Yep.
It was just, not only was it just so cool and like obviously beautiful, but you instantly know what you're going to get out of this movie. Like
it's 1,000.
It's sexy. It's intriguing. There's sort of some danger about it, just on itself as a piece of jewelry, or maybe even a piece of clothing.
Snake steals from another snake. A snake.
Yeah. I just thought that was so well done. Like it so easily could have been just like some fancy necklace, or I don't know, a bag of diamonds that someone had on them, whatever it was. But no, this was this like really elaborate snake.
I think it's what makes this so like Parisian and just so French. It's like when I don't know if you've both been there, but going to Paris, it's like you could go to a supermarket and have like magazines where there's just like tasteful nudity on the front, and just by like the cashier, it's not a big deal. No one's walking by going like, "Oh, boobs!" Like it's just like art everywhere, and she's able to do that because she's like a living, walking piece of art, and it's just all about that, like the beauty of like the French culture. And I thought that was just perfect, symbolized by that awesome snake outfit or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was great. I love that.
Let's see. I'm gonna go with Paris. It kind of going along the same theme here. This was like sort of an ode to Paris. There's a part where 7 years supposedly of the movie they're in the U.S. and they just go like, no, we're not going to like LaGuardia. We're not going to go check out the States. We're sticking in Paris, in France, and we're just going to show these awesome shots of the city. The Eiffel Tower and Notre Dame and the bridge, and it's just such a great cinematic choice to stay in Paris. And I thought it was just a great sort of ode to the city and to the culture.
Yeah, that shot at the end with a couple scenes on the bridge over the Seine with the Eiffel Tower right there. I mean, those are just great visuals.
Yeah, absolutely. Sleep around. I don't know if I have anything left. I'm not sure. I got one. All right, let's go.
I got one. I'm going to go for my sleeper pick, night vision goggles.
Oh, great one. And POV night vision.
Yeah, there's nothing better than a pair of night vision goggles. It's basically, I think, the closest you can get to having a superpower. You can basically see when no one else can see. And as you saw in that film, throws the night vision goggles on and can see, and everyone else looks like a complete idiot. They're suddenly just like, don't know how to walk all of a sudden for some reason, but she's got
all their knees buckle. All their knees buckle when the light goes up.
So I'm going to go pair of night vision goggles.
That's great. Nice. Oh, I got one, sort of like a rope-a-dope of a Chekhov's gun. The loading truck scene where originally like the grate comes down, has those like pointy, jagged edges, and you're like, someone's going through that. And all of a sudden they just like push her in front of a truck, and you're like, that's strange. I thought someone might get injured there. And then by the end they wrap it up and those two guys are jammed into those, which was like, oh, finally, that's what looked like should have happened earlier.
I had that exact same series of thoughts go through. I was like,
definitely a gotcha moment.
Totally. It was such a delayed payoff that it was so satisfying.
Great draft. Let's get to our superlative for this movie. Our favorite clue that it was all a dream. Cam, do you want to go first?
Probably. I mentioned water earlier. I mean, there's just several moments where she's just like having a glass of water or what have you, or, and it just seems like there's just several other moments where you're just like, yeah, that kind of makes sense why it's just so over exaggerated.
Yeah, the fish tank.
I thought that
during that scene. Yep.
The fish tank, the overflowing water was awesome because it was right off the bat, unmistakable. Can't miss it. You're like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. But when I was watching it that first time, I didn't really think. I was just like, oh, that's strange, weird. But like for someone smarter than me, they were like, oh, this is clearly a clue to something's up here. And then all throughout the film, there's instances on the airplane where they're pouring water. There's in the restaurant they're pouring water. Obviously, there's the scene off the bridge, but the water is water. Obviously, she's sinking into the water. It's all just sort of throwing you back to that. But that's a great pick. I'm going to go for my sort of best clue was every person wearing the exact same clothes that Laure had just seen them wearing. And this is one where I went back and looked. And
damn it! I have to rewatch it now. I didn't even catch that.
Every single person is wearing the exact same clothes they were wearing. So obviously, Black Tie is wearing the bloodstained tux, which, like, of course, you wouldn't be getting out of jail wearing that. The security guard, Watts' security guard, is wearing the same outfit as he was. So when she was going to the airport hotel, there's a couple walking out of the elevator. It's a guy and a woman. The guy ends up being the security guard. The woman, the secretary of the ambassador. They're both wearing the same outfits that they were wearing when she walked by them in the hotel. The girlfriend's wearing the same outfit. The maid in the hotel is wearing the same outfit. Every single person is wearing the same outfit.
So basically, this movie was made for repeat watches.
Yeah, I every time I watched it, I picked up on more of these little clues.
I believe it.
Wow, I noticed the people in different roles. I did not even notice obviously the blood-soaked tux was easy to notice, but everything else I didn't. That's a great pull. I think I'll just have the advertising of deja vu everywhere. Like, it's literally screaming in your face on advertisements, deja vu. And you're like, oh, that's weird. Maybe that's just a French thing. But no, he's screaming, the director's screaming in your face. Like, no, this is strange.
Told ya.
Yeah, told you.
Yeah. I mean, there were so many things. There was also, like, all the clocks were set at the same time as the time when she slipped into the bath. The lighting was always sort of very extreme. It was either the bright daylight or dark nighttime. The, like, time gaps, there's, like, no explanation for when somebody suddenly shows up somewhere or you're in a totally different scene. I thought, like, the use of prison road when you see Black Tie get out of jail, it's like, clearly that road isn't called prison road, but it's a dream. It doesn't matter. That's prison road.
Are we moving on to One Change to Be a Blockbuster?
Yeah. What do you got?
All right, let's hear it, Kim.
If anything, just needed to change the cover. Literally, just and the poster, just when she's at the hotel and just, like, getting dressed and everything, just it could have looked like one of her Vogue or modeling ads, and that would have been movie enough. Because, I mean, like you say, I mean, just looking at the poster, I mean, it tells the movie, but it also undercuts it. Everyone thinks it's a lowbrow. It's not it at all.
Yeah, that's so true. I think it must have been a mismarketing here, because that's such a small part of the film, and maybe if people were going into it just hoping for some more skin, then that's maybe why they were disappointed. Or maybe
I think that's just it too. It's just people don't want to be seen going in and being judged. You know?
Yeah. Maybe they're just like, oh, I can't like this movie. It's not for me. I'm too highbrow for that type of film.
Yeah, you can't go to the DVD store and pick this out, and it's like going to get, like, Showgirls back in the day. You know why you're renting that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. You have to get, like, at least 3 documentaries and, like, tuck that in the middle.
Same thing with an action or horror movie. I mean, it's like, for whatever reason, everyone feels shamed in some way.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like, if you like watching the movie and you're having a good time, rent the movie.
Totally.
Yeah, I basically have the same one. The marketing of this movie I thought was just completely off, because I just can't believe this. I tried to think of, like, different roles, different characters I would change around, or different people I would cast, and I just really like the movie. So there's not much about, even the length going in, why I was so apprehensive to watch it.
It really does go by fast.
It was an hour and 55 minutes, I think, and I saw that. I'm like, ugh, another one of these.
Like, shorter than most of his movies.
It gets to the hour point faster than, like, most other movies I've ever watched. Movie just kind of cruises, and so I usually have a problem with, like, the length of movies that are close to 2 hours, and I don't with this at all.
So I think you could have trimmed it a little bit. I guess that would be my change, right? Especially because it is a movie that I feel like you want to watch over and over again. I don't think you need to trim a lot, but you could trim 10, 15 minutes, get this closer to an hour and a half where you're comfortable saying, like, all right, I'm going to sit down and watch this thing twice right now. I thought, like, the restaurant scene, you could probably trim a little bit of that dialogue out.
I already forgot about that one, but yeah, there's always...
Yep. The interrogation scene went on for a little bit longer than needed to.
I'm not even sure you needed that cop involved.
Right. It was like, okay, you could ignore him. There was the other one, and I kind of can't even believe I'm saying this, but the bar scene, like, I'm not sure you even needed that scene at all.
Maybe you could take out the striptease moment. Yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of, as ridiculous as it is to say you should take that out, it doesn't really move the plot along in a meaningful way.
It's almost even a little out of character, but I guess that's why, like, it's a dream. So that a weird scene like that is going to happen.
Right.
And I actually did like the interrogation scene because Antonio Banderas had to be like confronted with the idea, like, so the U.S. ambassador is beating his wife. Is that what you're saying to us? And he even had this look like, oh man, this doesn't. Yes, of course he is. But he even then realized, like, this isn't a believable story.
Yeah.
Right. For a tabloid guy.
Yeah, you need the scene, but I don't know, maybe trim it in half.
Yeah, I hear you.
I mean, De Palma avoids even so many of his other flaws, just less of the overacting. There's not even a Carlito's Way moment where they give away the entire how the movie's going to end. There's no flaws like that. He's come a long way at this point, and for this to be one of his most ignored movies, like,
yeah, it makes the whole thing makes no sense. I feel like this should have been a movie that made.
You could barely find any trivia on it. It's like,
yeah, I found that too. There's like nothing out there about this movie. You have to like really take a deep dive on the internet to find anything about this movie.
We'd have to listen to the commentary track to get more from it.
Well, I had to purchase the movie, so now I own this forever, so I can watch it as many times as I want.
I also owned it. I figured I'd watch. It was $2.99 to rent and $5.99 to buy. Is that what it was on Amazon?
Yeah, it was something that like made sense to buy it.
Yeah. 3 watches, you're already over. So yeah, I too own this movie now.
I'll buy it off eBay.
Spin-off ideas. Anyone want to go first?
Sure, I'll take a spin-off. And maybe this is obviously a totally different movie, but and I love that they didn't have this element in here, but sort of like a prequel that's just leading up to that first heist. Like I love a good heist movie, and a lot of what I like about a good heist movie is that the planning, the getting the gang together, synchronizing the watches, all that we didn't see any of that, which was great because I think we didn't need that here. But I could go for watching that. I'd like to see how this crew came together. It seems like a kind of odd collection. I think that would be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's weird. I'd like to know why Black Tie was so comfortable, like hitting her before the thing. Like, have they worked together a number of times? It seems like a strange thing for some other criminal to do to you before you go onto your heist.
It felt very personal too. Even when I was watching it, like I felt like I got slapped as a movie watcher. It was just so unexpected and so unnecessary.
And even a clue there, like, what are you dreaming? Wake up! Like, it's almost to the audience, right. Like, wake up! This is a dream.
Totally. Well, either of the two main leads characters, I would probably do that. Like you say, either concentrate on the heist, and then maybe some of Banderas' tabloid industry, see all the other shady underground characters he's met. Maybe,
yeah. Oh, I think I would love that to see the
people at that bar. I could see him on a regular basis. He goes around beating up people who are, drug induced and some barflies or something like that. You just beat people up.
Yeah, I think that character has a lot more that we could get into. I would love to see a deeper dive into him.
Oh, yeah, and each season ends with him realizing he's just a figment of her imagination, or is he?
I think I'm running back. It's one of these, like, an ode to the old movie while also moving it along to the next generation. I think you run this back with Rebecca Romijn as like the mom who had the child of Antonio Banderas and her, and the daughter finds herself in the same situation like 20 years later and has the same odd ability at, the crossroads of her life to have this thing happen. And she's falling into the same line of work that her mom told her never to get into. And she's into the heist game. And we can, cast one of today's hottest actresses, like, I don't know, ScarJo or Daddario or Margot Robbie in this role, and sort of like,
I could buy Margot Robbie. I couldn't buy any of the others really.
Well, there, Margot Robbie is that as like the daughter of Rebecca Romijn, who has the same similar, a similar premonition type dream.
Perfect.
As her mom did.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to watch this movie again for the first.
Do we have a problem with the title? Do you think that was a put off to people and made it seem like
I could see the title
red curtain type of movie at a movie store?
Yeah, I mean that sort of happened to you too, where you were like, "Oh, this is like some French film." I don't know, like
right? It did. Well, I'm not very smart. I did think I was like, "Oh, this is going to be too low. This is going to be too French for me, too slow." but it wasn't. So I wonder if a different name, different title would have done better for this movie.
That's a great call.
Cam, this has been awesome. I can't believe we got to find out about this movie from you. So at the very least, that alone was worth this whole thing. That was just a great movie to find. Do we want to get what's on tap for next episode, Stan?
Yeah, next episode, we are catching some of the Batman fever that's going around right now, and we are going to do Batman Forever. Very excited to get to watch this.
Yeah, me too. And don't forget to check out Jacked Up Reviews.
We do our best to do any kind of film franchise, and everyone's heard it a dozen times. So, like for instance, we did the Die Hard, Syncology, and we're just like, name the single best villain, fight scene, and one-liner in each one. And it's not easy because everyone's got different takes on the whole saga where it goes. And so we try to do a TV saga review, especially a deep dive into one that really isn't talked about except on like an episode by episode basis. But we're not going to do that. We're just like, no, let's sum up, like you said with Sopranos. Like, let's sum up a whole 7-season run. And did it go downhill, or did we like it all? Or people or fans just being crybabies about certain actors inevitably leaving the show? It's been on so long. What's the deal?
Oh, that sounds awesome. Well,
we do music band history, and that's always a fun thing to do, getting a few music critics who are very well spoken and get their narrative on why the band was so popular in pop culture. Yeah, thank you very much for being on here. Let me and just talk about a very difficult to describe movie.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us. This was a lot of fun. Again, a fantastic recommendation. The perfect movie for our pod. So this is just great pick. Great having you here.
This sets a high bar, I think, for future guests. Like, you come on and you want to recommend some movie that's sub 50. You're going to have to compete with this choice. All right. Well, thanks again, and we'll see everyone next episode. Later.